Aaron just finished interviewing all three of the companies that put proposals in for the AI traffic signal software. Next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration of the AI traffic signal software. So I'd just like it, after interview, open it up to discussion. Well, what you heard.
So, and I guess I would just say, from a process standpoint, you don't necessarily need to do it here at this meeting, but to choose one of the vendors, the code specifies that that some group, and this would be the group, would consider the evaluation criteria that was in the request for proposals, and develop a method to choose one to proceed negotiations with. And I guess from a process standpoint, it'd be good for me to know, and we could do it any number of ways. We could either, if you're comfortable, kind of ranking them live here based on the criteria, we could do it that way. If you wanted to go back, consider the criteria, come up with a numbering ranking for each, you could do it that way. You could do it either way. I think if you were to not do it here today, it might cost you a month, but I think the way the timeline is laid out, this work would happen in the winter either way, I think, so I don't know that month is necessarily critical. So that's just a consideration from you all. The other thing that I would just to share with you all is that we've been talking with the town of Mount Pleasant and the DOT pretty extensively on this issue. They have indicated that the town of Mount Pleasant does have an agreement with the DOT that DOT pays them a nominal fee. They then take over the maintenance of their AI signals. They then have an on-call contractor and they indicate it is occasionally, it needs a reboot after a storm, it needs something happens. And generally, I think that they would call their third party if it's something a little bit more complex than the normal, just kind of whatever they might do easily, more readily. They have a staff of 2 permanently with the town of Mount Pleasant that are maintaining 64 lights. So to kind of give you an idea of manpower, we hinted at them asking if they would be willing to expand, their staff expand over to this light. They haven't indicated a willingness to do that yet, but it seems to me like they're suggesting this third-party on-call maintenance person. But I do think they're expecting that we would need to be maintaining the cabinet themselves. The only other bit of information that I would add is that Josh Johnson, who is the DOT point of contact that we've talked to, he's indicated that the system they use it was the first company.
Rhythm.
No,
Cubic.
Cubic, yeah, it's the Cubic system is the one that they're using. But as we've talked about, the town of Mount Pleasant is using the Rhythm system.
So what do we want to do with this? Do we want to try to go through this today? You want to try to do it?
I had a couple of questions I'm hoping somebody can answer. The first so Cubic and Rhythm I thought were pretty much, you could go either way. I call them almost equal. We didn't get a clear understanding from the, I guess it was the ITERA system, that it sounded like they're basically tying into our current controller, and there's some limited functionality as far as how I'm guessing that it has preset timing patterns and it could change between them, but it wasn't like a real-time interacting, changing, even from their discussion. That seemed like that relied on whether our controller could actually support that analysis. So it was really, what they were giving was the detection side.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the automated control. I don't know, that's the way it came across to me.
That's the way it read to me, and that's the way it kind of came across.
I would
They
agree.
did say some adaptive but I think they're really good at detection with their radar system, detecting different modes, and then being able to do a lot of they have a lot of data, and a lot of analytical capability, probably utilizing AI to
Right.
analyze it, but not so strong on the real-time, get the
Making
traffic
changes
through the
to the
intersection
system.
kind
Some,
of approach to me.
okay, I was,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
a
mean-
near real time,
Yeah.
like literally in quotations, yeah.
I don't know, I mean, we could do this, I'm okay with doing it right now, or going through it, ranking 1, 2, 3, or we, each of these items and getting through it, or we can go through and you can develop a matrix and give
Yeah.
it to us, and we can do it, and then review it next time. I mean, I don't think timing is all that critical, but I do think that we need to move on with this at some point.
Yeah, and while it's fresh, I mean, I do
Yeah,
think
yeah.
all this starts to run together if
Yeah.
you don't kind of
Yeah.
act quickly. So
Yeah.
if you choose to not do it today, I would say, please.
Just today, like, get us something today and as a matrix of
Yeah,
each
if I
of these
get-
things and let us
in the
get
next
back
few
to you.
days,
But, yeah.
okay.
So I'll leave it to you guys, is your recommendation.
yeah, the only other thing I kind of had was, again, kind of back into the service and maintenance of it. And again, being that we only have the one, again, I think the other two were both had like training and agreement, so they would give you at least basic knowledge to go out there and try to reboot it, reset it, and then if that doesn't work, you call them on the phone. I guess, I don't know how that works with our current one, but that becomes something, I don't, somewhere that responsibility's gotta fall on the city, or we contract out to have somebody do it. But I'm not sure that would sway one system over the other between the two, because it sounds like, as far as kind of on the DOT side, there are people have seen both of these. And
Right. I guess from my perspective too, on the methodology and approach, the one that clearly stands out to me, it makes sense, is the rhythm. The others are, I guess because he's put it in pretty simple kind of terms, they develop tokens and they relieve the tokens, and that's the algorithm that they use, and I don't understand the algorithm of the others, and especially the Interis, I don't think that, we just talked about that, but even the Cubic, I don't understand how they go from the detection to get the traffic through the light algorithm.
Is that a question you want to kind of pose back to all three, maybe? Because I think all three systems can do, I think the ITERIS focused a little bit more on the at the intersection pedestrian and vulnerable user safety, but is that maybe a question to kind of push out to all three vendors, in addition to, like, your question is like, what's your all-in price?
Cost, yeah.
I think the other, just from listening to y'all too, I think as a city, you have to decide, is this something, if you use, that's why we were asking that signal maintenance agreement question, which maybe needs to be posed to DOT. And it sounds like Douglas has kind of asked that question a little bit, is if you take it on, if you do a system that requires a signal maintenance agreement, that's just one more thing that y'all somebody needs to manage it, whether you have a third party, somebody still has to be here to manage that. Is that, where does that fall? Does it fall under, some of them pull it under public safety, some people have it within their, engineering departments, or it just kind of depends, each jurisdiction's a little different, but kind of think about what does that look like as well.
I'm fine with that, just going back with the couple questions and give them to the end of the week to do it, and then let's try to get this thing graded and really quick after that, and come back to the next meeting with kind of a matrix filled out of how we're gonna make a decision and discuss it and decide. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that. yeah.
You want to fill it out at the meeting, John? Or
No,
do you wanna-
I would suggest that we all fill it out prior to the
Prior,
meeting.
give it to
come
me.
in, And then you come in with
With kind of the results, and you.
tabulation of it and say,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just wanted clarification, maybe one thing, that last, when he was saying they only have like one camera, I guess, pointed in that direction towards the S-curve, but nothing in the,
You mean the rhythm?
right.
The last guy?
Right, yeah.
Well, yeah, he suggested that there's a camera at the S-curve there.
Okay.
But Then when I asked the question, you say, no, the whole intersection would be,
There'd be
They
four
all have
cameras.
they all have
Yeah.
monitoring at the
Yeah.
actual intersection.
Like all of them.
yeah.
All
Each
three
direct- all four
vendors, all four
directions.
vendors.
Okay.
I mean, all four
Easier to
directions.
me, yeah.
I
Okay.
think, yeah, what he was saying is they could add one there if it became an issue of, which again, you know, if the light's not backed up and traffic stopped at the S curve, changing the light's not gonna help anything.
No. I mean, if traffic's backed up their way though, and you're relieving traffic by keeping the light going, then it's obviously gonna back up this way. And so that's what you have, once these gets to a certain point, then you have to, that's where the AI comes in to optimize.
To decide
all that. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
one's backed up the
Yeah.
furthest.
Yeah, exactly, and optimize it, you
And
know.
that gets to your question about what
Yeah.
algorithm
Right.
is
And-
used.
Yeah, and I understand the token one, but I don't understand the other one, so I think that is a valid
Good
question
for-
to ask.
For
and
some
then-
clarification there, yeah.
But quickly,
Yeah,
and not
yeah.
so detailed and complex that, you know, we can't
Layman's terms.
understand that it needs to be, yeah, in layman's terms. So is that a good direction, Douglas?
Yes,
on-
yep.
And if we can get responses back quickly and then.
I'll provide
get the
those
Matrix
with-
back, and then
yep.
we could, next meeting, we'll make a decision
Yep.
and move forward.
I think that sounds good.
All right. And did you want to comment on, while we're on this topic as well, on what the?
Yes, on the short term.
Yeah.
So, as we kind of been talking about, DOT, this is a DOT maintained signal. So the summer timings were put in just prior to our last meeting, like 4 days, I think, before the last meeting, DOT did that. They have, they will actually be, they offered to go ahead and look at the timings again. It's been a few years since then, so they have hired a consultant. One of their on-call consultants will be coming out and working with chief in the town, city. They're gonna do field observations in the upcoming weeks. They're gonna collect the traffic data, is gonna be over Memorial Day weekend. So between that time, once they do their observations, if they have any timing adjustments at that point, they'll coordinate with the district staff and look at that. And then, once they get the counts, they will look at the question that we talked about last week of how do you kind of manage the left turns
Yeah.
from this direction and the right turns from that direction. Chief and I met with them and kind of talked through that issue with them. And so that's something they'll look at when they get the actual volumes as well, and then make recommendations with that, their observations, make recommendations. And so they expect it to be in approximately by July, prior to July 4th. We don't have an exact, since they don't really know what the recommendations are, we didn't get a hard time on that, but they're moving forward with that. And so you should see counters out, and then they're gonna coordinate directly with chief.
Great progress.
And they're doing that, that's DOT's doing that as part of their services.
All right. All right, anything else on that?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Next item is discussion and consideration of the incentive programs that we just recently talked about as part of the wage and compensation study. And I think there was a couple clarifications on the fire one, and Chief, various, I think did you make some adjustments on the bilingual, I think to be consistent with the police bilingual, was at $1,000, and I think you said you maxed it at 2, right?
Correct. The max are currently 2 personnel.
Yeah,
So I do think, just for clarity, I think the one that's in your packet is the old. That
yeah,
this
that's
has
the
not
old
been-
one.
Yeah,
That's what
hadn't
I'm
been,
saying.
hadn't
So
been changed
the
yet.
changes that we needed to look
Yeah.
at was the consistency and then the max of 2. And then there was another one which didn't have a max that, I think it was the,
The fire investigative technician,
yeah,
there are 2. Under special rules, it just does not say no max, but we can, or I mean, it says max of 2, but we can add that language to that one, but it's noted for the math that it should be a maximum of 2, but we can add that. I know that was,
Does it not say max of 3?
It says max of 3 for the fire investigation technique.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll find it. I think it was for the fire safety and education. There is no max in there, but you had said the max is 1.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we should put max of 1 there.
correct.
And so if you do that, I think that it still equals slightly, like 75,000, a little over $75,000. But I'm good to go with that if we want to take that. I don't know, do we need to take this back to council then, or what? What do we need to do, Douglas?
I think it would be good to just update them and, it doesn't sound like it's a monetary
It's
change.
$75,950 or something like that if you make those changes. I didn't know what was approved in council was $75,000.
Yeah,
I'm okay just keeping it like that and we take it back to council.
Yeah.
And I think the police one's fine. It's right at 75,000, but I think everything's in there has got maxes in it.
where was the max of 1 added, just so I've got it?
Fire safety educator.
Fire safety,
Yes, sir.
got it. Yeah, I would say we just report this back out to council, get
Yeah.
their blessing on it.
Do you have any comments or questions on that?
I kind of did going through these, and again, just, I guess the one that got me was the Marine, the 14, that you actually have that now. And again, was this, are any of these requirements of the job or requirements at a certain level of the job? Or are these just really optional at this point in time?
They're not in the job description as a requirement. To your
Okay.
point, yes, sir.
Any other? Dave?
No, I mean, that's kind of it right now. Again, it was.
Why don't we just then take that back to, we'll take it back to council from, like I said, slightly over 75.
Yeah.
But instead of trying to cut here or there, we just, for less than $1,000 difference.
Yeah.
So,
Is that a motion?
yeah, I make a motion that we approve it as discussed and bring back to council for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the next item is discussion of overtime policy. I think this was kicked over, and I believe part of the issue here is just to review I don't know if we want to be setting overtime policy for the fire department or police department or anybody else. I think that's your internal, your policies that you have, but I think it's for us to review, because there seems to be, and I think the concern was it was an inequitable amount of overtime. In other words, overtime was going very heavy to select few and then others not. And is the policy right? Or is there a flaw in the policy? Or are we not executing the policy the way it was meant to be? And so I think the intent was for us to take a review of it. And I know you've attached your current policy in here, and David, you attached some other stuff, but maybe as a place to start, Chief, is for you to just discuss, what your to describe what your policy is. And then we can decide, where the conversation takes us.
So we attached in the packet the overtime policy and the minimum staffing policy. It's not in the packet, but I did email out our duty exchange policy where people will swap shifts. What Councilman Cohen provided from Carroll County had, rank for rank language, and we use like for like, which is similar. It's just different language. But basically, our overtime policy We have, 26 paychecks in a 12-month period. And so our firefighters will work either 120 hours or 96 hours. And when you divide that up into thirds, it's 120 to 96. So they're about 200, and I have to get with Deborah on the exact number, but I believe it's like 240, 250 hours for a shift employee that's just the normal overtime because of the schedule. But for overtime, what we have to do is we have to do it by qualification and position, similar to Carroll County. So for example, if a firefighter is, we're needing to fill a firefighter, for example, that position, the battalion chief will identify that need, and then he'll page out for firefighter to fill that rank. If it is, let's say, if it's a captain or a battalion chief, it'll say in the page on our scheduling system that everybody gets at the same time. It will say, looking for a captain or above to fill this role for 24 or 48 hours. And then those people with those qualifications will respond. So if we have a firefighter, we don't look for a captain. We need somebody, at that rank that's a lower level. So it's less of a budget impact. If we have, like, let's say a captain that is filling a role for like an engineer, that's acceptable. They can drive that apparatus where a firefighter cannot perform that task. And because we're so small with 12 positions per shift, we have less of an advantage when we go to fill that overtime. The pool is smaller. So we are flexible on that. Our battalion chiefs, we talked about this opportunity with them yesterday, just working through our policy. Hey, what's working? Is anything not working? Tell me how you work through it again. And they use various examples of what they do. So they monitor it, for the fiscal responsibility and the fairness piece. So let's say, for example, if a firefighter has recently signed up and gotten 3 shifts of overtime, and another firefighter, he's number 2 on the list, they'll call that firefighter who responded quicker and said, hey, you've gotten 3 shifts recently over the last 2 weeks for overtime. This other firefighter is behind you. We're going to go ahead and give it to this individual because they haven't had that opportunity, and you're working a lot. And so our fatigue management SOG, our policy references that, how we manage to attempt to manage fatigue. So they'll have those conversations, and then they'll be like, absolutely, yeah, give them that overtime. I need to take a break anyway. So there's a lot of communication that happens that's not necessarily in the SOG to address fatigue management specifically, and then also to make sure we're being fair. So I got with our battalion chief yesterday just to make sure, hey, walk me through everything again, how you do it per policy. So it appears to be working. We haven't heard any feedback from our personnel contrary to that. But we review our policies annually, and so you'll see the update of March 1st on this one as we go through our annual review cycle. So hopefully.
Chief, a lot of our firefighters have second jobs and own their own businesses on the side, et cetera, and don't necessarily want to work overtime, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So do they have to work mandatory overtime though? Or, if you're getting a position that you have a personnel shortage, are they forced to work?
Yes, and today we did that with our battalion chief. Our battalion chief called out sick, and so in order to do that, we had people in acting roles, which you mentioned. We have 2 engineers that stepped up to acting captain, so we didn't have to require mandatory or forced overtime for anybody else other than the battalion chief. The battalion chief was the only person, so he is on mandatory overtime today, and somebody is going to come in for him tomorrow So he's working 72 hours straight. After 96 hours, they're mandated to have a 24-hour period off.
Yep.
So that does happen. It doesn't happen often, but because, again, we are small, if one or two pieces move, it could make it difficult if they're critical, like the battalion chief, because our pool for that is a little smaller.
So Chief, how does it happen that I just glanced at some of the overtime data, but there's maybe one or two individuals that have almost as much overtime as they did straight time? And, obviously and there's others that hardly have any overtime.
Right.
So how does that kind of disparity happen?
They voluntarily accept that or take that opportunity. So when the page goes out, everybody gets it at the same time, and they'll look at it. And certain individuals, for example, we have 5 individuals who work at hospitals, and so they give that schedule to the hospital 1 month in advance. And so they're not going to be able to take short-term opportunities. We have a lot of firefighters with young families, and so they have daycare. And so daycare obviously is pretty expensive, but sometimes if their wife is working remote, in order to not have daycare, they'll be home with the children. And so in order for them to make a short-term move while their wife's at work, it's not possible for their family situation. So that's how some of these firefighters who maybe are not, maybe they don't have young families, they're able to take advantage of that overtime, or they don't have a second job, for example. They'll take advantage of the overtime because of their schedule flexibility.
But, yeah, that was kind of getting to mine, I think, is that when you look at that information, and it's out on our public site now, so people look at it again. It looks like, if you look at that list, it looks like favoritism, but again, that's just like, and that's where I came back in the policy of just ensuring that the policy covered what's the priority. Sure, I guess you have a list for overtime list, I guess, and then it's how does that get ranked as far as, people that have the lesser amount are giving the first choice of refusal, I guess.
Yeah, I saw that.
But if they're not even on the list, they've already refused it. So I guess that's where yours comes in, that you have a much smaller number of people that actually volunteer for the overtime. And so then,
Like when the pages goes out, does it go out to all that are eligible, or
No,
is it
sir.
only those ones that are interested in working overtime?
Only those that meet that criteria.
Yeah,
So, for example,
but-
so it would just go to captains if we're looking for a
No,
captain.
but say for a firefighter, if there's an overtime, will it go out to all those eligible for firefighters?
Correct.
Or will it go, in other words, a certain number of them, because of daycare and hospital, working at the hospital, they don't want overtime, so they don't even get the page.
They still get the page.
They still get the page, they just don't respond to it.
That's correct. It's
Yeah.
rank specific. So if we're looking for a firefighter, all firefighters on all 3 shifts will get that same page. That's correct. Same thing for captain. And then we just have, again, due to family situations or secondary employment, that their schedule's already set and they aren't able to make those quick,
Yeah.
short-term
Yeah.
moves.
What about firefighter, paramedic? I mean, is there a requirement to have at least one per shift on, or, I know we're short on those positions also, so how does that kind of work when you need to cover one of those?
It's a great question. So obviously, we look at our schedules in advance and we'll identify those needs, and the battalion chief will do that. But we do not currently, because we only have 3 firefighter paramedics and 1 per shift, we don't mandate that they hold over if one of those paramedics is not available to work. Because we were, with our fatigue management and burnout, we didn't want to do that. And all 3 of our firefighter paramedics work at different hospital systems, maintaining their skills. And so they do pick up overtime when they can, but there are times, sometimes we'll have maybe 2 paramedics working if they pick up the overtime, if they're because we're looking for a firefighter. But sometimes we will have, very few times, but we do have those times when we won't have any firefighter paramedics available. But they've been really great about, once they finish their shift at the hospital, sometimes they'll come in at night, at 1800, 6 o'clock, or they'll come in on day 2. So they've been very flexible, but when we had our 2 firefighter paramedics that we had hired and when they went to Colleton County, we evaluated that and we said, well, we're gonna put our overtime budget, pretty far into the red, and we're also potentially gonna burn out our existing personnel. So we decided as a staff to, invest in our wage and compensation study efforts and what else can we do for recruitment and retention, and then pull back from that requirement for mandating those paramedics to be on duty.
But we do try to have at least one per shift.
Absolutely.
So is that kind of where the medical field training officer, like, that could come into play, like, fill in that gap if there is, can they fill that role in any way? Like, someone who has that kind of training?
They'll assist with training, so more than likely, we already have, a couple different people that have signed up for various different incentives. And so that will help our training be more efficient. It will provide an ownership, but it's not an additional position
Right.
of a person.
But of trying to fill, like, a paramedic, calls out and you don't, would you maybe try to get somebody in for overtime who has that, qualification?
That skill set, absolutely,
Okay.
yes, ma'am, yes. And with the 3 paramedics, they do a really great job of talking with each other and letting each other know before our battalion chief even knows, because they know the situation. They'll say, hey, I've got this class, it's a week-long class, can you cover me? And so they work to cover because they see the need before our battalion chief even gets it. And because it's such a small pool,
Yeah.
and they can only fill that.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know if what we want to do. Do you think there needs to be any modifications to the system in any way, Chief? The policy? Or you feel good with it?
I currently don't. I haven't seen that feedback from our personnel. We just went through our review cycle back in March. We'll go through it again in next March. Councilman Cohen and I emailed last night, and he sent me some information. And I think our incentive program has been a hit so far. People are excited about it, and there may be opportunities to expand that in the future that could benefit, that might be able to help reduce overtime, like Ms. Carroll was mentioning. And so we're going to be monitoring that. And so I think just Public Safety Committee being available and flexible for that. And we love the input and questions. So hopefully this is helpful. But, with the more people that we can have that can step up into a role above in acting pay, or acting opportunities like we have today, the people stepping up aren't making any additional money, because that's set up in the city system now, where if you act outside of your current grade but you're qualified to do it, once you hit a 2-week window of consecutive time, you will get compensated for that at that new rate. Other agencies do that on a short-term basis, like for that day, if you are the captain and you're an engineer, they'll compensate you for that. So maybe that's something down the road that we could visit. I think that would be impactful for our personnel, and I think Carroll County, Maryland does a similar thing with the acting. But yeah, I don't envision any changes or recommend those at this time from what I have seen.
Yeah, I didn't copy everybody on that, so.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I was, again, just kind of throwing things out there, not
yeah.
to say recommend that we need to change. It was just more of.
I think we should probably look, maybe periodically as part of this, just monitor over time and see how it's being spread and just keep track of it. That realize it's not gonna be 100%, completely evenly divided amongst all of them, but to see if there's not any kind of, just obvious kind of overload of any individuals with overtime. So maybe once a quarter, we should look at some generic overtime by employee.
Okay.
Not by the name, but by
Yep.
code classification or
Yep.
something, and see what it's doing. And I
Nicole,
don't know
could
if you have any issue, how yours is, chief. It's
Get
similar
that.
the same way.
It's pretty much the same way. The one thing we might do a little bit different is I've got a handful of people assigned to more of a Monday through Friday schedule. And so what we do is we mandate, especially during the peak season, that they cover shifts on night shift. And that includes me, the lieutenant, the deputy chief. We come in and we cover a night shift patrol spot, and it's not admin. You have to come in and do police work. So it's mandated during the peak season. We also utilize those personnel to cover when somebody's going to be out. So like I just covered for a sergeant last month that he needed to be off, and he took an annual leave day, so I covered his shift, and that cost us no overtime. So we try to do that, use those people that can flex out that time as much as possible. But we do have the difference, I might say that we have is, we get a lot of events that pop up, and for us, like every time we do something at Front Beach, we have to close the roadway.
Yeah.
So that, we try not to do overtime, but sometimes it results in overtime. But mostly, our big thing is trying to use the hallway personnel that can adjust their schedules to mitigate that and forcing, I hate to say force, it sounds bad, but forcing everybody on the hallway to work that patrol. It's good in a lot of ways. It reduces overtime, increases personnel on the road, plus it keeps us sharp. I love the night when I get to come out and do patrol shift. I hate it the next day when I'm trying to adjust my sleep pattern, but it's really fun that way. That's the only thing I think we might do different.
All right. Well, maybe we just review it, Douglas, quarterly.
Yep.
All right. And next time, chief, I don't know how it's, we don't need to talk about that, but next meeting, we should talk about how it's implementation or if it's going with the Charleston County EMT. They made a request to be housed at our station. So maybe just get an update on that next
Okay.
Discussion of signage related to golf carts, LSVs on Waterway Boulevard. I guess we're not ready to put signs yet, but we're getting a little bit closer because the project's moving along.
Right,
But,
yeah, we
you-
think August is now the new finish date. And so I think we wanted to potentially be ready as soon as it's done to install signage that clarified the policy on golf carts and LSVs.
Someone had sent me this sign from, that's in Wild Dunes. It just says golf carts prohibited on bike path, no electric bicycles. That's on their pathways there. And I don't know if something similar to just that would just, because I think what we're saying is we don't want golf carts and we don't want electric bikes, but regular bicycles would be fine on the path.
I think we have an e-bike conundrum, right?
Yeah.
Certain wattage
Well,
can go, certain can't.
yeah, but this said, no electric bicycles.
So in order for us to put that on there, we would have to enact an ordinance
Yeah.
that basically said on certain areas, you're not allowing e-bikes. I don't know what challenges like that would be to that. That'd be a good McBullen question. But you could certainly put it on there. We would just need to have an ordinance to back that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to enforce anything except for the golf cart portion of it.
Well, if that's something, I think that was the concern with safety is that having these e-bikes that go, 20 miles an hour, or whatever it is, that, it creates a safety hazard on the path.
Shoot. What's the category? We could put a sign for the category above an e-bike already, correct?
Anything above an e-bike is already prohibited because you can't drive a vehicle on a golf cart or
So
on
we
a
could-
sidewalk.
So that could be on the sign. It could be no golf carts or are they
I think
called
what we-
e?
No motor vehicles.
No motorized vehicles, and then you're not, quote, officially prohibiting e-bikes, you're just
Right.
encouraging if you don't know that it's not a truly motorized vehicle,
But,
then
yeah.
It's
But I guess it's a question for this committee and council is that do we want to prohibit e-bikes? In other, create an ordinance and prohibit e-bikes on the new path? I mean, can you have e-bikes on our sidewalk along Palm Boulevard?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
E-bikes are, they fall under bicycle under
Bicycle.
state statute, and since we don't have an ordinance that prohibits them
Yeah.
from riding on the sidewalk, any bike, including an e-bike, can travel on a sidewalk. There are certain municipalities that have ordinances that prohibit it on sidewalks. The only caveat to that is you're then pushing kids on bikes into roadways, which is another concern as well. And what the right answer is, I don't know, but that would just be a caveat to it, is that's the concern.
I don't know the right answer either, that's why, but we need to come up with one.
There's nothing prohibiting them now from being on the roadway, though, is there?
Correct. They can be on the roadway, they can be on the sidewalks.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, they're both
Yeah,
rapidly changing.
yes, exactly.
That is true too, yes.
Chief, any idea if the problematic vehicles are truly e-bikes? Or are they more wattage than an e-bike? And
It's hard to know. We have found several that kids were riding that they believed were e-bikes, that when we were able to stop them, we found out they were not e-bikes. They did not fit the statute. And so we've called parents to come pick them up. Some parents have been very responsive and said, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. Some have been less caring about it and just more so like, just give us our bike back. But it's hard to say. The thing to remember with an e-bike is the way they do the statute to classify it as an e-bike, they talk about speed. But speed, when they write that into the manufacturer specifications, are with a person weighing a certain amount on a flat level surface, just using the motor at 20 miles an hour. So if you use the pedals and you exceed 20 miles an hour, it doesn't mean you're in violation, doesn't mean that you're not an e-bike. Their specifications are specific to the motor will propel you to 20 miles per hour on a flat surface when you weigh 100 and something pounds.
Isn't there a
individual.
wattage as well, though?
750
50
watts, yes, sir.
yeah.
Once it gets over 750, it becomes a moped by definition, which is a motor vehicle,
Yeah.
a motorcycle.
But when someone's going down that, I mean, assume we do this, what David said is no motorized vehicles. You see somebody whipping down the path, I mean, then as an officer, don't you say, well, I don't know if that's a bike or a motorized vehicle?
We'd have to look
So
at
then-
different things.
So, I mean, the only way to enforce it is to pull over everybody you see on there, or stop them and say, hold on, is that I don't know if that gets into an enforcement issue.
It would.
uh,
If we were just stopping them based off that. Now, some of them that are riding e-bikes, that they're calling e-bikes, have no pedals.
Yeah.
By state definition, they have to have a pedal to be an e-bike, otherwise you're not a bike. So we could stop anybody that was traveling like that, just like we can now.
Yeah.
But as far as whether it's an e-bike that meets class 1, class 2, the state doesn't recognize those, and there's no way for us to really do that unless we start to stop everybody, and then you start to infringe on that Fourth Amendment a little bit when you're seizing individuals, because every stop we do, if it's not consensual, then it is a seizure. And so then we do kind of run into that issue there. You are correct.
All right.
so are you thinking that, for clarity, consider golf carts are already not allowed?
Yeah.
Adding or considering adding any e-bikes, or enacting an ordinance that would say any e-bikes on that path, just so it would be
Well,
clear that
I think the
everything
things are for
motorized.
sure is no golf carts or motorized vehicles.
So that we could do now.
You can do that
But you
now.
do add this kind of layer of
And-
ambiguity
and-
for
And
them.
the e-bike comes into it, which is anything that has pedals
Correct.
that's under
Less than
750 watts.
Yeah.
And they could potentially still be on the
Yeah,
path.
so one, I guess we could do without much,
I mean, that would
without
be
much
my-
issue.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation, just do no motorized vehicles.
And then understand that you're gonna have a little bit of ambiguity on the,
And that you're gonna have people on e-bikes on that path.
That would
But
be
again,
okay.
you have people that can pedal 20 miles an hour riding down the path, so
Right.
that's no more dangerous, so.
it'd have to be pretty egregious, I guess. If you guys see no pedals or they're going 35 miles an hour.
And reckless or something, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah.
And anytime we see anybody riding a bicycle, an e-bike that is an unsafe manner, we'll typically stop them just to, it might just be an education thing, but we would. I think doing it this way, it requires no ordinance changes right now. That
Yeah.
sign can just easily go up, no motorized vehicles on sidewalk or path.
Okay.
Is that a consensus there? We just
I think
move
so.
forward with no motorized vehicle signs when it's installed, when it's completed, which we think
Yeah.
will be August. I think we will need encroachment permits from the DOT. It's still a DOT right-of-way, so there's a process to get that approved. But if that's the direction, we
Yeah.
can start moving in that direction now.
All right,
Good?
that's it.
Okay.
Good with that?
Next item is discussion of public safety-related matrix. I don't know if anything's changed in there since the last time, but.
So we do have some updates on really just initiatives that have been identified. I'm getting a little concerned. We got 13 minutes until our next committee meeting starts.
We
And
can
I don't-
push that off and review it next time if you want to do that.
Chief, are any of the bottom, well, yeah, I guess are any of the bottom three time sensitive? RMS, intergovernmental agreement with the county, Charleston County, and mutual aid with Jamestown Police?
The RMS and the intergovernmental would be.
Okay, so if you don't mind, we just
Why don't
jump
we use the matrix recommendations next time?
next time.
Under new business, say, consideration of intergovernmental agreement with Charleston County. This, I read in here, it's in there. Chief, I don't know if you just want to get an update. It looks like it's a new agreement, 5-year, 3-year agreement, I think.
I think it's 5-year
agreement, yeah.
agreement. They redid the interagency agreement. The only thing I would tell you, there were a couple areas that I was not fond of and I asked questions of. One of those being that in the agreement, Charleston County can at any point decide that they want to, that uses for 911 funding would change and that the county reserves the right to independently make these changes existing funding models and/or to implement annual subscription fees to counterbalance that. That means basically at any point, they can say, hey, we're going to start charging y'all for this stuff, which we did see that this year. We went from a $3,000 bill to a $12,000 bill with just a heads up of, hey, it's going to go up, without telling us how much it was going to go up or anything. Didn't like it. They're not willing to change it, so it doesn't really matter.
You did go back to them?
Oh, yes, sir. I sent this thing back with several pages of questions and different things that I asked them to look at. So that was the big one that I was not fond of, but they won't change it, and we're kind of in this conundrum where unless we want to have our own dispatch.
How does this funding work, though? Did we just get a bill from them every year and we pay it?
We get multiple bills from them.
But there's no mechanism in there.
Most of them, they get funding through states and grants. And so what happened this year was a grant did not come through, and so then they just implemented it out to everybody.
But how do we get our share of that? It's not specified in the agreement?
No, sir. Sometimes we ask questions about these things, and they give me very long answers that don't necessarily answer what I'm looking for in the best ways. They try to, but I think some of it gets a little confusing. Every time we get one that we're not sure, we push back and say, hey, can you explain this to us so that we understand what we're paying for? But normally, they
Because-
don't do increases. This year was the first time since I've been here that we saw that
Because
happen.
it should, our fee should be based on size and use. I mean, on the advisory committee, every other community's getting 4, or they're getting 2, we're getting half.
Right.
I mean, they have their fire and their police, and between us and Sullivan's Island, we get 1. And so,
And
it's
some,
a half for us.
they do break it down by agency size. Some of them are broken down by police and fire, and then some bills just come straight to us and we pay for the entire city to have certain things. It depends on the bill they send us.
But our choices is pretty limited too, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
So-
We have to do it. It's way more expensive to operate your own 911, and
Yeah.
it is a benefit. Certainly a great group of people that we work with there, and they do a phenomenal thing for us.
Are you recommending we approve this?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we approve the intergovernmental agreement with Charleston County as in the packet.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I think we can get this mutual aid one out of the way too. B, that's just a mutual aid agreement
Correct.
with
Yes, sir.
Jamestown Police.
Yes, sir.
We have those with.
With almost every agency
everybody,
around us.
too, Yeah. I make a motion, we approve the mutual aid agreement with Jamestown Police Department.
Second.
Any comments or
Can I-
discussions? Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I mean, Chief, you don't think, do you think that's beneficial? I mean, seems kind of far.
I will say they actually are the ones that reached out to us and wanted to send us help for senior skip day. So it wasn't them asking for us, they were actually wanting to come help us. That's
Okay.
what prompted it.
Do you foresee, like, our officers here responding to,
No, ma'am, they're a very small agency. I think more than anything, Berkeley County is going to cover anything that they need help for. We wouldn't respond, under this, I don't see us responding to anything that we wouldn't have responded to under state emergency acts anyways.
okay.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Consideration of purchase of new service for records management system. This one I read in there, and I guess and I think you had talked about this before, where the current one is being obsolete. SLED's requiring us to go to some new agreement by the end of the year. And I guess you got proposals. My only question is, Chief, is in there, one of the proposals, the one you're choosing, there's an alternate, a sister company of the one we're currently using, and you're not recommending them?
No, sir, they have not operated in South Carolina. And to be frank, they just sent an email last week that used terminology of saying, for those of you that just saw the email from SLED, that LawTrack is no longer going to be valid, surprise. And now that we're past the shock, we can move forward, which is bad business practice and not necessarily somebody that isn't willing to clearly and openly communicate with us. It concerns me about working
Yeah.
with them.
And so, I'll summarize them, but I think what you're asking for is this company has come forward, and even though we have not approved any kind of budgetary or approval to go forward with them, that they're willing to get started on the conversion of it, and no commitment on our part whatsoever. If we decide not to do it, then they stop. We don't owe them anything, but they get started.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And by doing it at the same time as Sullivan's Island, who is also moving to this vendor, it reduces the amount that they have quoted us by $10,000.
Chief, it is in next year's budget.
Correct.
It has been as a placeholder. This amount exceeds, this is more than we were anticipating.
This is
By-
less.
Oh, less.
Yes, sir.
What was in next year's
We
budget?
budgeted 70,000 is what we've got as a placeholder in the budget proposal, and this will be coming in around 56,000.
Yeah, and
You're
then
looking
about
at the 5-year
$22,000.
The 5-year contract total, as
Yeah.
opposed to,
The annual amount, the fees are already built into the forecasted budget that Ms. Hamilton put forward.
So the subscription fee or the ongoing 5-year cost is in the budget?
Correct,
As-
yes, sir. It's already in the forecasted budget.
Oh, yeah. 55 year one, and
Yeah,
then kind of 21,
22,
yeah.
Yes, sir.
22,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So this would be a purchase that is, and I guess we've talked about this, that I do think, they're saying it's not a commitment, but I think we would treat it the same as a commitment. I don't think we would do the conversion unless we were committed to use them. So I would want to treat it as a commitment. It would be, we could, because it is an IT purchase, it's technically exempt from competitive bidding. It also, I think, is potentially a sole source product because it has unique characteristics that interface with the court system and responds to FOIA requests differently, which would be a benefit. Generally, we try to put these through a competitive process, and Chief has done that, and is coming back with a recommendation, as you've kind of talked through, of not going with the least expensive. So we just wanted to put that through to you and get your advice and a recommendation on how to proceed. And we would, based on whatever your recommendation is, we would continue that
What happens
recommendation up
after
to
5
council.
years? Does the cost go away then?
No, sir.
You have to
It can-
resubscribe?
it would continue to see an annual increase. And I think it's like a 3% increase year over year. And so that would just continue past 5 years.
And that's what our cost, that's our program now as well.
The program we have right now is, it's a one-time flat fee,
Okay.
significantly less than what this would be going for.
Yeah. Well, any questions on it? Chief, that's what you're recommending we do?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if we have that much options. We gotta get it done by the end of the year, right?
Yes, sir. And the big concern is, we could get it done by the end of the year, but in the note
Yeah.
or the letter from SLED was the fact that continued use puts us in a vulnerable state.
Yeah.
And having been a municipality that's been through that vulnerability before, I'd like to do everything in our power to avoid that.
Is there a way to get a grant or anything for this?
Not that I've found, no, sir. And every department in the state that used Law Track is doing the same process right now.
Well, I guess we bring this to council or the Ways and Means, but
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You vote for it? Okay.
No, I agree. Sorry.
I didn't. All right, being no, or miscellaneous, our next meeting is on June 2nd. Being no further business, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I'll record 12:58.
Just in time, so.
Yeah,
2 minutes to spare.
Go to the restroom.